So we have a 2018 Jaguar XF Sportbrake here in the shop, and we're getting ready. It has a 3.0 in it. We're getting ready to replace the plastic coolant hoses in it. We've got a metal kit that we purchased off the internet, and we're going to throw those in. This is a pretty lengthy job. If you had the dealer do this job, you're probably looking at around $3,500 to $4,500. It's going to take a while to do this. It's kind of involved, but I hope this video helps you out if you want to tackle it yourself. One thing that we recommend is that in the process of doing this job, there's a fuel pressure line, and you got to take the pressure out of the system. So you'll have to figure out how to do that, and we'll dive right into this thing.
Millimeters, we're going to take off, and then we've got all these torque bits here that we're going to take down to get this front cover off, because we're looking to see if there is a petcock on the radiator to drain it. I've got a couple of 10s over here. So I'm gonna, I guess they are 8s. Sorry, guys.
The 8s?
Yeah. So we got some 8 millimeters over here. Take off to get this lower cover off. Two there. A couple here. One here. And these are 10s. We got 3 10s here, and then we got some torque bits that look like they're T20s, so we're gonna get those. So we got a T25. We're gonna take these torque bits off here to get this cover out. Stick in the mud here, hitting the cover. Let's see if we can guide it out. Drag it.
Up in here.
Yeah, that's the one. It's doing the same thing. Yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
So we got a location for petcock right here, and it's a 14 millimeter. I'm gonna take that down.
Got a drain pan on the floor.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to start leaking or it's going to make me...
Yeah, it's coming.
You know what? We got a bunch of stuff to do up top, so, you know, patience is a virtue, and I'm going to give it one more crack and...
Let it drain out while we go up top.
So we've got some multiple coolant leaks here. We've got one right here that we can see, and then we've got... There's a bunch of coolant tubes underneath the intake and the turbocharger, supercharger on this. So we're going to pop this cover off here, and slides back into those grommets, and then it just pops up from this top one here. So we'll set this aside, and then we're going to be taking the top of the supercharger off and everything. So we've got some work to do here today, and we bought a coolant tube kit that comes with everything that you need to get rid of the plastic coolant tubes, and there's a bunch of coolant tubes.
This is the 3.0 liter engine in this car.
Plastic coolant tube here, and everything's plastic on it. So the kit that Skylar bought has all like steel tubes for the most part. They're steel and redesigned tubes, and it's a whole aftermarket kit that he bought for it. So we're gonna start by, you know, taking the covers off here. The top of the plenum's gonna be coming off. We're gonna take the intake off. So we're digging in deep. So we'll go over step by step with you. But we're first gonna start by taking this coolant tube assembly off here, and then we'll show you where the water pump is, and we're gonna disconnect our fuel lines here, and we'll get rolling on it. So for now, we're gonna take this clamp off and this clamp off, this bolt off here, and then it's got to be a clamp here by the supercharger. Yeah, there's one down right here. And my finger is. We'll take that off, and that'll allow us to slip this off. And so we'll stop with that.
What size socket's that?
7mm.
7 mil.
Yeah, we're gonna get down and get this one in the back here. This looks like a 10mm bracket here. Pressure on this and see if we can get this to.
There you go.
It's like something just popped off. Like you pulled the nutshell out of it or something. So, okay, so we got that off. Some type of squeeze clamp for this thing, and yeah, this looks like you squeeze both of these, and that just disconnects right there. You squeeze these in, you get that off. Okay, so rotate it out of the way. All right, we're halfway there, guys.
Yeah, a million more hours to go.
So here's the water pump on it, and we've got a water pump. We haven't decided if we're changing the water pump because we've got problems with these coolant tubes, you know, and shit like this that we got to deal with. So in the kit, I believe, was there one of these tubes in the kit?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'll have to get one.
we're gonna have to fix this. So there's a squeeze tube here. This reminds me of my neighbor's Volvo that we just did, and it's got something along the lines of this. So. It looks like there's a little speed clip right here, a little metal speed clip with a pick. We're going to pull that off. There's usually an O-ring in there. We might be able to just re-O-ring it. So this is basically going to come off here, and then we'll take it off over here, which this looks like just the squeeze style clips. This clip just rolls up, I think. Yeah, this clip just rolls up. There it is. Clip here. All right, so we're gonna get a box for all these clips, and this will just come out. Okay. All right, let's get a box going. I'm gonna get them a little pick to pull this out, and then we'll get this off, and we'll get this side off here. Get this all disconnected.
Hey.
Wow, look at that. This has got to be a vent. But look at there's no hose on this end of the vent. This is just maybe it's plugged inside or something, but okay, let's get that off. Get a little pick here. As you slide, you can draw these back, these clips back. I don't believe they have to come right off. Because it draws back into the little channel here. And once you have it off, that should be enough to get this off. There it goes.
There you go.
Okay.
Start
And
crusty.
there's got to be an O-ring in here.
Yeah, probably.
That's or it could be on the inside of the radiator. But all right, so we'll wipe this down and we'll deal with this, and then when we pressure test it, we'll know. We've got a little speed clip here that we're gonna crack loose to get this off, and then we'll take that last clip off over here. So we got our little tool here. Okay, get that off. Let's get this last clip here off. I can rotate this around so I can get at this clip a little better now. This is the same thing. I'm just gonna pop this clip up, and it should stop. It gets to a certain point, like right there, and you should be able to hold the rest of the housing and twist this thing off. Okay. All right. We've got a bunch of stuff on the underneath the intake to do, so we're probably gonna just, you know, we could take some of this front stuff off, but we're probably gonna, we'll go after the plenum first. We'll get the top of the plenum off, and there's some shit in the back that we got to take off to do that. So let's get these squeeze clamps off and see if we can get these off. See how we got to get these off. We'll figure these out, and we'll get these off. And we got these clips right here, which looks like these are the same squeeze type clips. Squeeze them this way. There you go. These come off. And this one has a little locking clip on each side over here. You gotta push those back on them. Down, but I don't know.
Looks like they just squeeze down.
Yeah, they don't move when you go that way. You move this way, but it's one on each side.
Looks like it just did something.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we have to push in and then squeeze these two tongues down. Okay. This is all coolant stuff, dude.
Not bad for marketing, huh?
Right, so we want to get this, we'll release this clip because we want to get these hoses so that they're up out of our face when we go to pull this plenum off, you know, and these things go everywhere. It's crazy. So we're going to tie wrap these.
World's longest hose.
We'll tie wrap these down over here so they're out of our way, so when we go to take the supercharger and everything off, it's all going to be out of our grill. So let's tie wrap these down now. So we're going to get these other coolant tubes off.
Push in, squeeze, and pull out.
Yeah. Okay. And the same thing, we're going to want to take this clip off here and get these out. And, I mean, this upper radiator hose, I believe, is all coming off too, so we can probably, yeah, it's all connected to everything. Look at the coolant lines on this thing. Yeah. Everywhere. It goes from this setup here all the way down. It splits off down here. Jeez. Goes down underneath there. I mean, it's crazy. But it's got a supercharger. They got to cool it, so we'll find a way to do it. Let me see if this is part of the hose that we're replacing. But we'll get this upper radiator hose off here. We do have the special pliers for these, but it's just trying to do it without it. Okay. It's got a little clip that it locks into in here. And we're just going to tuck this back and see if it'll stay there. Okay, so that's kind of out of our grill. We've got a clip here that's holding this into the block. you know, a lot of times these break, so I'm kind of not wanting to pull it out of the plug here. So if I loosen it up like this, not like downstairs, huh? Okay, pull these up over out of our face here. This will be finding that clip down there.
I think it hit the ground. I could hear it.
Yeah. Well, there's a cover underneath here, so.
Yeah, I don't think it broke. I think it just clips in.
Oh no, it just clips in.
Just clips in, yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta find it. Okay, so we've got that. So we actually have access to the supercharger belt now, and this is gonna have to come off. So you can take the supercharger belt off, and there's a big 1/2-inch drive ratchet you can put in here to loosen it up. So we'll do, or a breaker bar. So we'll do that. We'll get the belt off now. Wow, this belt is ribbed on both sides. Pretty crazy.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's ribs on the back and the front. So, okay, so we'll go slip that off right now. So we slip the ratchet into the supercharger, into the tensioner. And we've got to go up with it. There it is. It ain't got much room. I'll tell you that. All right. I'm gonna disconnect this temp sensor here. It's like you're gonna slide this little clip back. There it is. Okay, we're gonna pop this little thing out of the top of the intake here. I always hate pulling these out of metal. They never seem to go really well.
Hey,
good.
All right.
Okay, we got this. So we can let it disconnect. For now, we don't have to disconnect this, but we will in a minute. But we'll get this tucked back out of the way here. All right, so we're gonna start taking some of these Torx bolts off. I'm gonna put these, take them out, flip the metal things, put them back in place. I got one here, and then the rest of it is gonna be these Torx bits, and I got 410s in the middle. So let's get these Torx bits set up, and we'll start. I'm gonna take these out and put these back in, same as this one. These are T30s. T30s, and we'll roll these up. Well, I wanna put these back in place.
Yep. Remember where they came from.
Here. It doesn't look like this one is connected to it, so we can get that one after, but this one is. Move this stuff over to the side for now. And this is another T30 that goes for another bracket, and I think I'm just going to take it off right now, and that's for the intake side, but it's just going to move this stuff out of our way. So we'll take this one off. I'm going to get this stuff, and we're going to tie wrap this stuff out of the way as well. You know, try and pull everything back as far as we can to get it out of our way. All right, so now as far as this goes, I've got some 10 millimeters in the middle here. We'll take out. And these usually aren't very tight, you know, because they're going into aluminum. And then these other Torx bits here, I think these are, yeah, these got to be 40s, T40s.
Okay, so these are T40s.
Yeah. I'm going to get these in the pan over here. Some are tighter than others. Crack the other ones loose. crack them loose with the ratchet, and I'll get those. So there's a bolt here that's one of those T30s that's holding this fuel clip on, and there's another one over here, and I'm not going to be able to move them until I get those off, but let's get those done right now. This. Let's see if I have some wiggle room with this line now. Yeah, I got a little bit to get these bolts out. And there's two in the front here too. So let's crack all these loose now.
There you go. Sound.
No, we'll put some Never-Seas on these. These are real long ones.
It's a wicked long.
Yeah, so these are real long ones. Go down. With this hose.
No.
Not as much as I'd like. Okay. All right, I think we've got most of the bolts off here. Double check, make sure we don't miss anything. Top of the corner.
So there's 4 T40s around the back.
Yeah, of course this plate, whatever it is in your grill. So, let me get the other one out over there. Metal thing. Alright, give me a minute. So we've got 2 more bolts in the back here, this one and this one, and I just basically bent the bracket up a whisker so I can get the gun on it, and we took this plastic thing out of this hole right here. So bolt over there, and this last one over here. slipping bracket. We're either gonna have to bend it up when we put it back together. So let's figure it out. But all right, so these are all the same length bolts. As far as slipping this out now, this thing should come out
There
now.
you go.
We're gonna take these bolts off and sit them over here with these. Should be able to get this plenum to come up. All right, so we took the oil cap off. We're gonna take this rubber sleeves off here and pull these out. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. And there's a fuel line down here that we can take off. And that's gonna give us all our clamps. We might as well take it off now. It's right there.
Okay.
Model in there, but you could probably like buy more of a generic thing.
Good.
Like the engine code, whatever it may be.
So these are pulled back here. I might not have to take this one off, so I'm not gonna pull this one all the way up, but we can get at the fuel line, which is right here. So let's get this fuel line off. Looks like a 15. See if it's a 15. Oh. All right, so it looks like a 17. Okay, got a little fuel pressure there. Let it off slowly. We should go take the fuel cap off the vehicle right now. Okay, so we cracked it loose.
Crack the fuel cap loose, that's off.
Just gonna make sure this thing, you know, drains slowly. Okay, go crack the other side. I'll get the oil cap back on it. On this side here. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna crack it loose and let it bleed down. Okay, that's off. Alright, so its pressure's off. We'll put a rag over it and take the rest of the pressure out of it. Okay, let's see. Still draining. Okay, we're gonna get this one. This thing just slides up out of the way. Let's try and, no, maybe I'll deal with this thing now or after, but we gotta get this plastic hose off too, so it's kind of in the way of taking this line off, but I can get it, and I'm gonna crack loose. So it appears like each side, each rail is charged. So even though we bled it on that side, we still had some fuel pressure coming out. Okay, so we're gonna finagle this out. Okay. All right, we should have really no obstructions, you know, holding this thing off. So I think I'm gonna just put a little tie wrap over here right now, just to pull this stuff out of the way. We could get the plenum off, but you know, when we go to take the intake off, this is all gonna have to be out of the way. So let's get a tie wrap on that. All right, we're gonna grab that end. Yep. Should be able to lift this thing up.
There you go.
Forward. You got it?
Yep.
1 second.
You got it to scale. All right.
All right, so we've got the top of the plenum off. And so we're gonna take this clip off and get this out of our face because we've got to pull this aluminum housing off. And this is all part of the supercharger. So, you know, we're gonna get this hose off over here. We're gonna get this thing off here, this water outlet off here, disconnect the rest of our electrical. And then it's funky, you've got some bolts down in the back here, which are going into the back of the supercharger housing, and they have a torque spit going this way. So we got to figure out what we're going to do with that. We may be able to just get a 10mm wrench in here and crack this loose and have it spin on the bracket, but we may have to take this off with this bracket. And so we're going to figure that out. I'm going to go after still unplugging some stuff here, so let's get this. This is one of the outlets we're changing, so let's get this off. baby, don't break, you're almost there.
Yeah, I know it.
Okay, all right, I got that one out. And we got this clip, we can just lift up on this clip here and slide this one back out. And then this one has a, looks like a locking clip.
Yeah, it's something underneath it, I think.
Yeah, let's see here. Get it with the pick. Okay. Yeah, we just slipped this up right here, bent this forward, and this slipped off.
Okay.
So we can pull this up out of our way. We've got the connector here for the throttle body, for the actuator for the supercharger. Let's unplug that. Alright, this should have this out enough. What's up with that? This little thing is just kicking me in the balls everywhere we go. So let's try and get this thing out right now. I think there's just the squeeze tab on this thing.
There's a lot of those on here.
Okay. Just pushing on this button on the back side here.
Okay.
And that squeezes the ears out. All right, let's try and get this thing out of our grill here.
I can swap with you.
All right, this is going to be another thing that I think we're going to just tie back up out of the way here. There it is.
So what'd you do with that?
It
Pull that
just
right clip out?
squeezed- Yeah, pull it out and
Pull it
squeeze
out.
down.
Okay.
Slipped it back. All right, so we got the harness all off of this thing. And this stuff, we're just going to pull this stuff up, tie wrap it back here so it's out of our grill. And next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go after this water outlet right now. Let's see what we have for pieces for this, see how much we have to take off. And we still haven't decided yet whether we're changing the water pump on the vehicle yet. I mean, we're digging down into it, but it's not like we have to take all of this stuff off to do a water pump later if we need to. And it's not leaking right now, so we're gonna make that decision. Change the top water outlet, remove that right now. We got two T30s, one here, one here. So I'm gonna slide the clamp back on it. Boy, that's pretty loose. All right, so I'll leave the clamp in place. Let me get the 30s off first. After we get these, I'm gonna put these right back in place. They are the same length, but I just wanna make sure. All right, so let's. Look at that, they even got a little clip. They got a little locking tab right here. Jeez, and crackers like this.
This is a lot easier on a Mustang.
Let me get a screwdriver. That's fine. So we've got a little tab here that we gotta lift up on to get this out. Okay, and it just popped off that little tab right there. And the hose, when we squeezed the clamp, it seemed like it was pretty loose already, so. Okay, the spring clamp staying in place. I don't know if it's got a staple because it didn't want to move, but. All right, that's one of the components that we're changing. And we're gonna change the water outlet down here as well. So for now, we're gonna take this clip off here, and then we'll rotate this hose out of the way. We could take the water outlet off, and we may just go in and dig this water outlet out now because it's just gonna be a kind of a pain. So, because we still got to get this hose off. So whether we take this hose off now or later is kind of irrelevant, but we might take it off now. So, all right, I'm gonna get this clip here and roll this one underneath. Trying to get to the bottom of the clip here. me try some smaller pliers, maybe. Okay, get some smaller ones. Trying to rotate this clip. There you go. So I can squeeze this clip and slide this off.
There she goes.
Okay. All right, and rotate that out of the way. The clip tool on there.
Just gotta pinch that together, and this is what it looks like.
Okay, now it's locked in. It's got that clip that it'll lock on.
Yeah.
So I should be able to take this off now. Okay.
Oh, I see. So that little
Yeah,
worm, that clamp,
catches itself.
I
Yeah.
gotcha. Now you can.
So we got to get this hose to break loose the seal. And I'll get a little pick tool underneath there and roll it around.
Got one right
I
there.
got the- All right, there's just stuck on the bottom end. So this thing, we'll get some more electrical shit to take off of this down here. And then we're gonna take this whole thing out as an assembly. But this isn't stopping us from, you know, taking the supercharger off right now. But we're gonna vacuum this shit right here that's in here and get that vacuumed up so nothing tips into the engine at all. And I'm just gonna get this water outlet off now so it's out of our face. There looks like there's a clip right here that we've got another plastic clip to roll out for the harness. Okay, get that one off. That's running around there. And then there is a temp sensor on here. Looks like it's right here. And there's a little 2-pin slide connector here, a gray thing to slide back. If I could do it with my fingers or if it's already back. Nah, I gotta get the pick. A little gray thing right here is gonna slide back. Might already be back.
I think it.
It does look like it's back already. Oh, it's getting tight.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not getting that yet. I'm gonna try and squeeze it with some needle nose and grab it. No, easy. As I squeeze it, I can see the shark fin. There it is. Okay. So as you squeeze this gray piece down, it lifts the shark fin up to slide off. So, all right, so that's off. And then this is just another clip.
There's clips all over this thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's the other connector. Now this is staying, so I don't really have to take that off, but we've got another connector here.
Just trying to get that little hose off the bottom there, and it's clamped down.
I'm gonna use the tool to break the seal. There we go. Yeah,
There
we
it goes.
drained this radiator down, but this is above the thermostat. Is holding coolant in it above.
Yeah.
So you know,
Still
we're just
cool.
we're gonna stick the screwdriver in there for now and just let this thing just drain down a little bit. I think we got everything loose on it. Looks like we do. We just got to get this clip down here. You can see it right down there.
Yep.
We're gonna pop that clip out. Okay. Now we should be able to disconnect the water outlet from that lower hose. Of course, there's Is there a fucking bolt here holding it on?
But wait, there's more.
Of course there is. Looks like there's a... Oh, of course, there's a little T30 right there.
Oh, nice.
I guess they want to make sure this thing doesn't fall off.
Yeah, huh?
All right, let me get the quarter drive ratchet in there, and we'll take this little T30 out right here, and we'll be right back to you.
All right, we're going after that T30 right now. We're going to take that off. Okay. So don't lose that.
Yeah, and then, so now, so when we got this up, we slit the clip back we showed you on the connector here, the little outlet pipe, and then it's got grooves in here, so you can't twist this thing around. So you got to wiggle it. We're able to get a pry bar underneath the edge here and just catch the edge of the water outlet here, and then start working it back and forth between here and here. And got it to go. And once we got it a little farther, we can get a screwdriver in here and then gently push this lower part down. This is where the seal is, right in here. So we're going to put either some silicone in here when we put the new one on, or we're going to put some dielectric grease. We'll probably have to do a little silicone. All right, so we're going to transfer these hoses over, and they got a little white line painted on them, which will match up with the notch here. So that's kind of cool. And then we got one here that'll match up with, no, this one doesn't have it over here. So we want to make sure that these are on in the same position, so we can mark them. And I don't know, that's pretty much going to go towards that screw, it looks like. This white line will go towards the screw. And that way there, the hose will be in the right position when we go to slip it back on. It won't be twisted or kinked. So we'll transfer all that stuff over. It's got a new temp sensor with it. We'll transfer this over, and that's about all we got to really transfer over.
And this is a replacement pipe for the other pipe we took off that was plastic.
Yeah.
So this stuff is metal. We're replacing it with all these metal components that were plastic from the factory.
And once we lift the supercharger up to get it, the hose, there's a hose that goes down that I will show you, and we're pretty surprised from what we've seen. The edge of this rots right off, like the antifreeze just ate it away, even though it's plastic. And it's a big part of where leaks get on these from what we've seen. So we'll transfer this stuff over, and then we'll get back to it. All right, so we got our water outlet off, and we got that off, and we decided to take the plastic coolant line thing off here because it's just in my face, and we're looking like we're going to do the water pump. So I just figured I'd take it off, and we just squeezed these blue clips and, you know, wiggled it and got it off. There's one on each end, so we got those done. So we've got 4 T30s to take this the throttle body off here. So we're going to take this off. This one I'm going to need an extension for. Alright, so we've got the throttle body off. We already took the electrical connector off. So we've got... What else could possibly be holding it on, right?
We've been saying that through this whole frickin' project. But wait, there's more.
Okay, so there's obviously a coolant line connected to it over here. So, alright, this is the one that they were talking to, that's attached to it goes down to the whole bottom of the thing. And there is this is a special clamp on this line right here. Not sure if we can reuse this or not. But that's what we had found some people have left the supercharger on and then, the throttle body, and then lifted it up. We're taking it off, and we've got a gasket in the back here that's okay for reuse. So, but we've got to get this coolant line off, and then I don't think this clamp is going to be reusable, so we're going to put probably a worm clamp on. So I'll get a small screwdriver. It looks like I just got a crimp underneath this, and who knows? Yeah, it may be reusable. We'll see. All right, so we've got 6 10mm bolts holding the supercharger down, and we're going to just crack these loose And then we'll take them out with the gun. And I just like to crack these loose. Okay. Just a note, when we took the front plenum cover off, remember those long bolts? Well, they went down, they went into the cylinder head.
Yeah,
That's why they were kind of squeaky when they were coming out. So we're going to put some penetrating oil in on each one, and then we're going to never seize those bolts when we put them back in. Because you've got a steel bolt and an aluminum, and that usually doesn't pan out too good for everybody. So now there's a bunch of stuff on the back of the supercharger here that's bolted on, and we shouldn't have to take that off because we're just going to take the bolts out and lift the supercharger up, and then we can get. The reason that we're going in for this thing is all because of this hose right here. And we'll be showing down here, you can see it down in the intake there.
Yep.
And they leak coolant in there. So that's what we're going after. And so now this tube is all metal. And so it's the metal, this, and then the tube that comes across the front with the neck that sticks out is going to be metal as well. All right, let's get the rest of these 10 millimeter bolts out. Now don't go dropping these down in the engine, gentlemen.
Yeah, you might want to put some rags in those holes.
Yeah, once we lift it up, we're gonna, so we have to clean the gasket off. That's why I'm not stuffing anything in there right now. We gotta make sure nothing falls in there. And if it does, you're going in with your magnet. So we've got all this stuff loose. Now they showed that you had to do a little prying to break the seal on this thing. And we've got all the bolts out. And we're just gonna double check that we're not missing anything here. I don't believe we are. So I'm going to put a little pry bar right here gently and see if we can get this thing to move. Okay, so we're starting to break the seal on this. Don't want to pry too much on shit here, you know? In a rocket back and forth kind of. So we pried in the back here gingerly, here and on the other side. And we're gonna get Skylar to grab the other side over here, and we're gonna see if we can lift this thing up now. Oh, it feels like it's still hurting a little bit.
There you go.
Okay, so now we want to just, what was that? Just
That was
there's
right
an
there.
insert of that. So what?
This right here. There was an insert in there.
Where did it go?
Down. Spring probably down on there.
Okay, so we're gonna get something to hold this up.
So we got the intake blower, the intake up. We got it supported by a couple pieces of wood and a bearing over here that we had, so we can get in there. We got a mouse nest, so we're gonna vacuum that out of there and get the town on this pipe.
Here's the $2. There's one here, and then there's one over here.
Yep.
And so we're gonna spray these with penetrating oil, and you know, maybe clean them up just a little bit so that they fall into the holes, and they fall into these holes. There's one right here, and then there's one over here on this other side of this sensor here.
Okay.
So we'll get them cleaned up, and then we're gonna finish taking the tube out. So to take this tube off, we've got a T30 here, and there's a T30 on the back side that we can't really see. We're gonna get those two out. We're gonna get this tube changed right now. And this is the reason that we've gone through all this.
That stupid little
And
tube.
when we take this tube off, we're gonna see if it's all rotted on the bottom of the plastic here. Okay, we'll take the one out here.
So what size are these?
T30s.
T30s.
Okay, we got one here, and there's one on the other side that we can't really see. Let's get this one out. right, so one note while we're here. Here's the throttle body here, and we were able to, this clamp is some type of funky clamp on it, and we didn't really want to take it off. So we just took the throttle body and we sat it, and it's down out of our way because we didn't put the water outlet back on. That works to our benefit. So we're gonna change this tube. We'll get our gaskets changed, surfaces cleaned, and then we can set the supercharger back down and torque it down, and we can put the throttle body on last because we are gonna change the water pump. So, you know, we may just, while the supercharger is up in the air, we're probably gonna go after the water pump now. So, but we're gonna get this tube changed first. And there's another T30 back here. I can get my finger on it, but you can't really see it. I'll get the ratchet on it. Okay, the ratchet's on it now. It's right here.
So I'm gonna break that free and pull a tube out.
All right, so I'm gonna be pulling this last bolt out right now. Okay, I got that one out. Make sure you don't drop nothing in here, gentlemen.
Yeah, you don't want to do
All
that.
right, so we've got the tube out, and we're gonna snake this tube out.
Here it is, boys and girls.
Boy, there ain't much left to these flanges here.
Nah.
No. Tony, it sounds like the pan's catching fluid right now.
It's not running all over my feet.
What's going on?
This is the one we yanked out, and here's the new one.
Here's the one we're replacing. And man, there ain't much O-ring in here. Did this rot right off?
I don't know.
Look at it, it did.
Did it?
Look how lumpy this is right here. This is
Yeah.
all rotted right off. We gotta go pull this out of the engine block.
Ah, Jesus. Yeah, well, that's what Skylar was saying happens to these. They rot off on the ends, and they start leaking on you. So it looks like we're going
It's
fishing.
broken inside the block.
Did it really?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the suction gun and suck this out, but you can see the black ring around there. It's the
Jesus
suction block.
Christ. All right, so we got the antifreeze out of the holes, and you got to watch out for that junk around the side of it.
Now look what happened here. We've got the bottom of our tubes completely rotted and broke off. So we're gonna try and lift these up. This is where the O-ring is, right in here. And the flange is completely rotted on it. So we're gonna get a little tiny bar and try and bend that up to get that piece out.
And okay.
All right, so we'll get this little tool and we're gonna pull in here and try and pry this up. Okay, so this is the bottom of the tube.
Yeah, man.
Rotted right up, broke right off.
Yeah, it did.
And we're gonna do this one here. Okay. All right, so we vacuumed it out. We're gonna spend a little more time getting this all nice and dry and cleaning this up, and then we'll get ready to install a tube. So we had some brackets on the back here. There was one T30, two T30, three T30s, right? And it's holding this bracket that we'll go show you. And then there's an electrical connector in the back here and another squeeze connector clip here. And to get this off, we had the supercharger in the car, and we lifted it up and we twisted it over towards the driver's side. So the nose of this was facing towards the driver's side. That gave us just enough room to get in there and get these T30s. You can't get at them unless you have the supercharger unbolted and then pulled forward. And going back together, obviously it's going to be a lot easier to put it back together. So, but we have a coolant tube, which is this one, in the back on the cylinder heads, going from head to head. And these things are plastic, so that the upgrade is aluminum. And, you know, we seen what happened when we showed you the water outlet going into the intake of how it just corroded out. Well, we could expect the same on this at some point. And if you don't do it now while you have the supercharger already unbolted, you got all that work to go back in there and do it. You know, so this is gonna mount on the back of each cylinder head like this, and then we get some coolant hoses and a sensor that plugs into it. And we felt that we were already here. We needed to do this. So on the back side over here, if we show you, this is what we were unbolted. One of the T30s, two T30, and then the other one was on the bottom right here. And by having the whole thing twist it this way, we had access. We had this pulled up like this, so this was twisted like this. We had access. We had a couple of long bolts here that came out, a couple of electrical connectors that plug in, and then we've got this water outlet hose that comes up that goes to this. So we're gonna go in, now that we can pull this forward, here's the tube that we're changing. We got one side of the tube here, and then it runs over, and this is all plastic. And we've got some coolant hoses that go to it up here. So we've already seen the issues that we're having with the plastic on this engine. And you know what? The kit that Skylar bought has everything complete in it, and we're gonna use everything that's in it. All right, so we believe this is called like a symposer. It pipes sound into the cabin or something. So we're gonna disconnect this electrical connector, squeeze the tab, and get
We're not
that
sure what
off.
it's supposed to do, but we're gonna take it out of there, right,
Yeah,
Steve?
yeah, and I want to get this other electrical connector off of here, and this stuff is pretty brittle. There's another connector down here underneath this bracket. Right. Not sure where. What else is? I don't think there's really anything else hooked to this thing.
I think it just goes right over there, right?
Well, there's the harness is coming down underneath the intake here, so there's
Yep.
one more connector here that I've got to. I can't see the back side of it. Well, there's been a lot of this job that we've had to put a mirror on to see what's going on here. Kind of a bit of a pain here. So there's some type of clip here on the back side of this thing, and you really can't flip it over. Alright, let's see what we can come up with here. Because I've got this connected to it, and man, this stuff is all so friggin' brittle. I don't really want to take anything off and break anything. But we're trying to get at this tube. And I don't know, maybe we can just leave it, lay it forward. But we've got this tube here. I would like to get it out of the way, because we've got this tube here that we've got to take off. And it runs around the back, and it's got some coolant stuff, tubes in here. And we got to get that off. So I don't know, I'm going to spend a couple minutes getting this last connector off. So we've got this squeeze tab here, this tube we got to take off, and we got this hose we got to take off. If you squeeze these two blue things together and twist on it, you can get it off. And it's, of course, man, we drained the coolant on this fucking thing, and it's just got coolant that it don't want to let go.
It's everywhere.
So we're gonna get this hose off here, and it comes out of this little clip right here. And this is the hose that runs underneath the engine that the little tabs broke on, of course, but we're gonna tie wrap them. So let me get this hose clamp off here. And Skylar's holding the harness out of the way here, and very tight. We got to get this plastic tube off and replace it with that metal tube right there. So let me get some pliers, and we'll take that clamp off and slide that off. All right, so we're gonna get this clamp off right here. Nothing's been easy.
Nope.
Kind of tight. I don't know, if I was European, it would probably go easier, right?
If I was European, I'd buy a Barracuda.
Yeah, just fucking stupid little clamp. Ugh.
Barracudas are easy to work on, Steve.
Yeah. It's just not gonna. Oh man.
Yeah,
We got the clamp back. Okay, we get the hose off, and who knows what's going to come out?
Hey, no
Nothing.
coolant.
Nothing. All right, we're going to stuff this up here just so that it. Okay, so now we've got one electrical connector down here that I don't know. We're probably going to take the tube off. All right, let this go back up, Skylar.
Yeah.
We're probably going to unbolt the tube and then we'll get that connector.
Right down.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it.
I think it's like this other one where you got to slide something into it to get it to drop down. So we'll get the tube. You know, we probably don't have much slack with it, but let's see. There looks like there's another little plastic thing right here that holds it on. So, yeah, we're gonna have to get that off too. So let's try and push this plastic tab back through. I'll get some pliers and we'll squeeze it through and see if we can get that to go through. So we're gonna remove this little plastic tab for the harness right here, and we're gonna unbolt this tube. And it looks like there's two T30s.
Should be
Three.
Three, yeah.
And of course, there's one on the bottom that's gonna be a bitch. You can't really get your finger on it. Yeah, down here. Okay, so we're gonna work on these 330s, and there's three T30s over here, and then we can get this tube out of the way. There's, of course, look at, there's a bracket, another little one over here holding it on. Got one here. Okay.
well, the same thing on the other side too.
There's one over here you can see. Oh,
Yeah. It's hanging on.
Yeah. Mhm. Wow. Then this one,
Hold there,
where
too.
the angle is, I don't know if I can get really behind it, but we're gonna try. Might be able to just push it out. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that's. All right, we gotta work on that one.
No, there's not much slack in here at all.
No, so once we get the tube unbolted, get that off over there.
You get that wire.
Oh man, look at this. There's something here that's just part of some type of vent here for something that goes over to here. I don't think we broke anything, so it looks like there's just a vent right here that goes down to the transmission.
Yeah.
So
I think they probably just zip tied it up high, you know,
yeah.
keep it out of the water.
Yeah, so it's it's right in my way. You know what I mean? So we'll have to take the tube and finagle the tube out this way. But of course, to do that, the harness is going to be stopping me. So we're going to have to try and release that clip here. There it is. Jesus. Somehow, I don't know how we haven't broken any clips yet, but this just has a little tongue that you got to push and release. So you got to get the pick tool here, right
Yeah.
here, and just pull the tongue out and get it to release. Man, there's just no room.
Yeah, I know.
So, all right, so we're gonna start taking these T30s out, and we're just going with a quarter drive. We've got one here, we've got one here, and then we've got one down on the bottom that, you know, if I told you this hose was right in the way, would you believe me? You probably would though, right? So I think we'll be able to get it out, but I'm gonna use a very short extension with the T30 and start cracking these loose. second one here.
Is it the one underneath it?
No, that's well, the one across from it, and there's still one on the bottom we gotta get.
Great.
It's gonna suck.
Right there.
Yeah. Alright. Have to get a little extension for that one. I don't know if I'm better off getting on the other side. But
So do an extension on this one right here to get beyond what the tube that's under there. To the 1 inch extension, Steve.
yeah. And you know they come out kind of snug. They look. I don't know if there's Loctite on these, but they're not like cracked loose and then they're easy to unthread. Like you got to get them out a pretty good amount.
Doesn't look like there's Loctite on them.
No, okay, so then.
Right, so now we're gonna go after the 3 bolts on this side, and if we run into anything, we'll let you know. Hey, you get all the screws out on both sides. Steve's gonna pull that right out of there, right?
Oh yeah, and it's gonna cooperate.
Jump that plastic vent hose.
Yeah, I know. I just. Well, it catches on everything. Why wouldn't it? Drip some more coolant out.
You like that? Hey, it's out of there.
Now the O-rings must be stuck to the head, to the back of the cylinder heads right here, and you can see them
Yeah.
right here. They're thick, so they look like they press into the thing. Of course, you think they would just, come right out. No, they ain't coming right out.
I think comes right out of this. What's the other one?
Okay.
Hey, that one came right out.
They're like little tires.
There you go, you got it.
Okay. All right. There's the back of the cylinder head where the port went. And they're nice and clean. We got that one there. There's your 3 holes. And we got this one here. It's right there. You can see it. 3 holes. And I just got in there with a rag and wiped it. So we're gonna put a little grease on the O-rings on the new one. Put a little bit of dielectric grease on these O-rings right here. Now this is a redesigned tube. So if you look at the one we took off, let's see if they got all the million clips that we need. So yeah, so we got the clip here for the harness, and then it's got the O-ring up on the top here, 3 tabs. It's got the hose here, the coolant hose over here, and then it's got the tab in the back for the harness. So it's got everything, and it's got the 2 clips here for the hose to fit into. So it's identical, it's just made of metal. And this didn't deteriorate like we seen, but you look at this coolant in here, it gets hot. I mean, you can have thin points over here. I mean, it's plastic, and this is not one solid piece of plastic. It's seamed together right here. This thing, who knows? This car only has 50,000 miles on it, so this could split, anywhere. So over here, so they came out with a new aluminum one now, and it's all torqued together with torque spits, and we're going to assume that they're all tight. So we're going to put some dielectric grease on this. We're going to get our bolts, put a tiny bit of never seeds on these so that they thread in a little easier for us, and we'll get some dielectric grease on these O-rings. So we got our new tubes, and I gave my legs a rest, and we're going to finagle this thing around the back behind that. I'm assuming it's a transmission vent. I'm going to tuck this down in here.
You know what, Skylar? We're going back together.
Yes, people, this is a big time moment here. We are actually putting something back on this car. We're very happy about that.
We're almost done.
I wouldn't say that, but let's get that over there. everything's tight. I'll tell you that, man. This is very tight. All right. So I want to make sure my O-rings didn't move, and I got to get a bolt in a spot. I want to get one on each end, just so I can still see my O-ring. Then I'm going to press this thing up in place. So I can sit it right here. I can get one bolt. And we put a little dash of Never Seas on them. And I'm gonna try and catch this one. I gotta stand this up a little bit.
There you go.
Okay, I got one here. The O-rings, you almost feel like they're glued into this thing, which is a good thing. So,
Could be.
one more.
Catch the other side.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna catch this side. I want to catch some bolts so that I know that the O-rings don't move, because I can still see it. And this line is in the way. I feel like I got it caught here, and I can see my O-ring. Nothing on that is moved. But like I said, these bolts didn't just thread in like super easy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. I'm gonna try and get a couple more bolts caught and then see what I can catch with the air ratchet.
Yeah, we'll be back in a minute.
All right, so we've got our electric ratchet here, and we're gonna just tighten some of these T30s up a little bit just to get the tube to roll up. We can see our O-rings, they haven't moved. We clean the back of each cylinder head so we know that's a good mating surface. I just want the tube to roll up a little bit, and I'm just gonna slowly bring these in. I just want the tube to kind of roll up like that. I'm gonna tighten these by hand, but I want to get them. And I haven't caught that third one over there yet, so I'm not going too much. Catch this one. I can't really see this one. Flying blind here. Alright, I'm gonna just get that one with the ratchet and the bottom one. Okay.
So right now we're putting in the 2 bolts in the bottom. There's 1 on each side. We're gonna tighten up the 3 on each side, sling them all up, and we'll get back to you in a minute.
Okay, so we got the tube back on. We actually put something back on this motor. We're very excited about that. Just keeping this rag covering our ports here.
You don't want nothing falling down in there.
No, so, all right, so we don't need this gasket. So, okay, so we've got a little harness here with the plug that we took off that we can line up and twist it back in place. Push that back in that hole in 1 second. I'm going to get this. We have the hose here that goes back on. Went underneath like this. It looks like it must have went underneath this, behind this. No, it didn't go underneath the hose, so it went. So this one.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, it went routed behind here. Okay. And then we'll get it to slip on through here. Okay, we'll get that on. Let's get this so it goes back into the proper place. We've got another one here. And 2 of them that are locked into here. Okay, and there should be marks on the hose. Once you put the hose on, it should be, you know, we know we're in the right spot, okay? This clamp slid back up here. You pull that down, Skylar?
I got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
All right. All right, we get the thing, hose and the clips. Now then we got this one here. Gonna slide on.
Yep.
Quick disconnect.
Yep.
And we've got this hose harness plugs in there. We've got this harness. Somehow jam my hand in there and from this side. Like I told myself it was gonna plug in a lot easier than it came apart. There it is. Okay, this plug on. Okay, got the click. And then over here, I've got this harness. This clamp right here. Okay, so we've got the hose back on, our breather tube back on it, harness is clipped in, we've got the connector plug back in, we've got all the T30s tight, T30s over here tight, we got our hose routed. We were wondering if this hose ran underneath this. We looked back on the video, it doesn't, it sits on top like this. All right, we're good.
We're getting ready to plug some of the electrical back together.
We got this dufilator valve, we're gonna call it here. And we gotta plug this in.
There you go.
Okay, we put this plug back in, and then this plugs into the electrical connector. And this hose, once this is all back up in place here, this hose connects to the back of the supercharger right here with a couple of bolts.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to get this sitting back in place, and then this hose locked in place like this. We can clip that in after. And then this bracket had bolts that held this thing on. And then this thing's falling out of this clip right here, and this locked into this rubber. We just snapped it back in place into this rubber boot. So this is kind of the way it was. And then this hose here will clip into this. And yeah, this was a pain. So this is what we had the supercharger pulled forward on. So you know what? I don't think this clip locked in here. This is one of the bolts for the back of the supercharger. That's what it is. This doesn't go in there. This has got to go in somewhere else, because that's one of the bolts that lines up 1, 2, 3 for the back of that supercharger when we were finagling to get this thing off. So yeah, this goes into, I think there's a plug on the back of the supercharger that this harness plugs into. It doesn't plug into this. We're going to take this out. Okay, so we're going to actually take the supercharger belt off, because we're going to take the water pump off. We've got the back put back together now. You know, we figured that these 3 holes are lining up for the studs on the back of the supercharger. So we kind of can't go any farther. Our goal was to get that tube changed. We got the tube in the back changed, so we should be done with the back of the motor for a little bit right now. Okay, so now we're going to go after the water pump, because that was the last component in the kit. We didn't think we were going to have to take the supercharger belt right off, but I got to take this belt off. So we're gonna take it off, because it's gonna actually be in our way. So we'll just roll the belt up here, slide it off around the pulley. It's kind of self-explanatory the way it goes, so I don't think we're gonna have too much trouble putting it on. So just slide this off around the hose here. Can we get the light down here?
Yep.
Okay.
Does that help?
There we go. Yeah. So we got to put a 1/2 inch drive ratchet for the tensioner here, and then we're going to take this belt off. Okay. I'm going to pull up on the tensioner. These are really stiff tensioners here, so let me get over this way, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull back on it, and we'll roll the belt off the pump. Okay. Okay, there you go. So I don't necessarily have to take the whole belt off of this thing. I'm gonna tuck it down out of my face, but this tensioner has to come off. And we're gonna figure out how this thing's coming out too, so, because I don't think we got a new one with the water pump. So we'll take the tensioner off right now, and the belt goes around the tensioner down here, kind of makes it simple for us. So we'll take this bolt off here, we'll get the tensioner off, and then the water pump is tucked behind the tensioner. And I don't know about this bracket, if we got to take this whole bracket off. We'll see if we can get the water pump. If, you know, once we get this off, we'll be able to see a lot better what we got to do. So we got a 13 millimeter on this. Let's see if we can crack this loose. Okay, there's that loose. Now the tensioner, the belt is running around it, and it's kind of tight. So for us, I think we're gonna take it off, and when we go to put it back on, we'll slip the belt right around it, just like it is. And this belt is, so that's a smooth tensioner. Okay, smooth pulley. All right. Okay, get that off. And we'll just slip the tensioner out from there. And then here's the make or break. Can we take this pump off without taking this bracket off? Right, so we have 4 T30s to hold this water pump on. We're just gonna crack them loose, and then we'll take them out with the electric ratchet, excuse me. And they're pretty tight. I just want to crack them loose to make sure that nothing breaks on me.
Yeah, that would not be a good thing.
No, I don't want to drill and tap. I don't have to. So.
Grab the light from you.
Huh?
Hey, grab the light.
Okay. Sometimes these bolts get corroded because if they're in the water, part of the water pump, the jacket, we'll take them out and there'll be some white junk on them.
So the pump was fine, it wasn't leaking, but we figured we'd replace it anyway since we're all the way in here for the most part.
So we cracked all the bolts loose. I'm just going to zip them out now. And you can see, when we get them out, we'll show you there's some corrosion on them. And that's why they were a little, so we're going to wire wheel these. And I just hate to just put the gun on them, crack them loose. You always want to get them going a little slow. Take them out and make sure that they don't break. And we've got this plastic piece down in here that connects to it. And we got a new one in the kit. So once we get this apart, we'll figure out how that's going in. It just kind of looks like there's a rubber seal in there. So we're going to take a peek at that when we get this off. And it looks like just the water pump being bolted on is what's putting pressure on it for the seal. So get the last bolt out here. I'm gonna get something in here and give this a little tap and break the seal on it. Okay.
Yep.
So now this is connected into this little bushing here. And we just took that off. So there's like a steel tube here that goes into this. And we were looking at this piece last night and we were wondering what this was. And I think that we know now this is a steel tube and this is just a plastic cover over it. Right here, this plastic cover. But we've got a new O-ring for this and we've got a new metal piece for this. All right, so we're gonna go figure this out and we'll be right back to you. All right, so we've got this piece here. It was on like this. And when we pulled it out, there's just a rubber seal that's in here and the old one. And we've got this new steel aluminum piece with the rubber seal on it. And we're just gonna put a little dielectric grease on it. Spread that around. And we can slide this piece into the new water pump. Such. And this is all moves around a little bit, so but once it gets in there, it's just seated in there. And you can spin it a little bit, but it's almost like it's just not turning in a certain spot because I think this is locking onto the housing. It's kind of in this piece, in this place here, and that's sitting on the edge right there. So we'll have a little adjustment with it, but I think it's pretty close there. And then we've got this rubber seal that they gave us here. And this seal, we're going to take the old one off and we're going to put this new one on. And it looks like it goes the same way. It doesn't matter which way you put it on. So we're going to change that seal and put it on that metal tube, and then that's going to plug into here. And we'll put some dielectric grease on this as well. So let's go change that. This is baked on there a little bit. Okay. Got it. So we're going to slide this new one on. Line it tight like that. And we're going to put some dielectric grease on that. And this is a steel tube underneath. This is just a cover that's holding this. I'm not sure why, but we're not taking it off. We're going to leave it there. And we'll get some new dielectric grease on that one. Grease on this one. So it slides into place good. All right, we got that. So we're going to get the gaskets on the water pump. And we've got one that's stuck to the block here. Peel that off. We're going to make sure our surface is nice and clean. Yeah. Hit it with a little bit of paper, sandpaper. It's aluminum, so I don't really want to hit a lot of it. And it's pretty clean. I could probably get away with it right now. But I'm just gonna hit it with a little bit of sandpaper, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
So in the kit, they gave us an O-ring, a little black piece, but that's already in the water pump. The O-ring's below this, and then they put this in, and that's what this is. So we just got to slide this in. It's like a quick disconnect ear fitting. We're gonna push this in. Put a little tiny dielectric on it. Okay, that's in. And now it ain't coming out. And it's tight. It's nice and tight. This other one is really sloppy and loose. Look how tight that is. There's no play in that. I mean, it's tight. So we're going to just change the hose over on it now, and then we're ready to glue some gaskets on the back, and we're going to put the water pump on. We could do the hose after, but we're just going to slip it on now. Okay. Slip this on. I'm going to put this clamp on after because we can twist it and get it into the place it's going to be on. We can put this clamp on last. So for now, I'm going to put some, I'm old school. I always put a little grease all my gaskets, doing that forever. And when I tighten my bolts down and I can see a little grease come out from the side, I know that it's been tightened down evenly. And I like to do it on both sides of my gaskets. This will just break down the grease.
Plus, that helps to hold the gasket in place too.
That's the whole purpose of it. So these gaskets are both identical, so they're going to go on a certain way like that. It looks like we can thread the bolts into these. I'm standing correct here. Yeah, they're tight to the bolts, so I can just thread the bolts onto them, and the bolts are going to hold them in place as well. It's kind of cool. This kit has had a lot of stuff in it that's been a total upgrade, and getting in here, we've really seen a lot of stuff on here that would not have lasted very long. So I just think these would be the same way. Okay, there it is. No. Yeah, one is going down. Why is that?
And we're just threading these other 2 bolts in there to hold that gasket in place. And we're gonna bring this over to the car in a minute.
So I got my gaskets on here, and then I decided to put a little dab of never sees on the tip, so it kind of looks like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but it's all right. So we're gonna sit this in place, and we have the T here. We have this lined up because the flat spots here have to go up against this. So we're lining that up. We've got it all greased up. So I'm going to try and catch a couple of my bolts here. And my water pump
from the other side.
Yep. Oops, sorry. See if I can catch a bolt with my fingers here, maybe.
There you go.
Okay, I got one. Because I just want to push this in. But I kind of want to have it. Yeah, I'll try and push it a little more like that. Okay,
There it goes.
Okay, get that one started. Get the bottom one started. Come over to this side.
I looked this up today, and I think this job said it was about a $4,500 job.
Oh, Jesus.
The dealership does it. It's a good thing Steve only charges $4,100.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, get that one started. Okay, I want to make sure these are all started by hand.
Hey, we're gonna zip these 4 bolts together and be back in a second.
So we got the water pump on, and we torque the bolts, and inside here, this tube, the metal tube, it has to be in a certain position so that the water pump will sit on there straight. So we have to rotate it a little bit this way so that we can get the bolts to line up, but we made sure we got all 4 of the bolts caught first, and then we ran it down. I actually loosened the bolts up to make sure there was nothing binding and it was nice and flush. And now you can barely twist this tube a little bit. Everything's tight in here with the 2 new seals. So we got the water pump torque. We're gonna put the tensioner back on right now. So we've got our tensioner that we took off last night. We've got this bolt here, 13 millimeter. I'm gonna get that back in place. So we took the tensioner off with the belt like this, and so I'm trying to remember the position that we were in here. So I've got 2 bolts here. I've got the 2 pins that I've got to line up, and I've got one there, and there's one on the bottom that it goes into this notch right here. So I've got those lined up, and I can put the bolt back in. I slipped the belt back over now because it just made it easier for us. And we'll get the belt put back on.
Going back together, boys.
So we've got the belt that went around the back pulley here. It goes up over the water pump like so. And then we're gonna have to, we've got it on the compressor. If you put the light down here. Okay, I'm gonna get it on the compressor. Okay. And we're gonna pull the belt tension and get it over this pulley as we adjust it. The tensioner. So we're gonna have to come over here. Leverage. Okay. It looks pretty good. It looks like it's on all my pulleys. And we'll just take this off and check the crankshaft, make sure it's on there.
Yep, everything looks good.
Yeah, everything looks good as far as the crankshaft pulley goes. Yeah, it feels good. It's on the idler over there. So that all looks good. It's on the compressor. Okay, so we can get that back on. So now we're getting back to the point where we're going to be putting the supercharger back on it. So we can clean our gasket material here. And remember when we sank the supercharger in, we had it up and twisted like this so we could get these 30 T30 bolts off the Torx bits for the back. So we got to put the back of this supercharger back together, which was kind of a pain in the ass, but that's where we're at right now. So we're going to clean our gasket material, and then we're going to put this tube back in place right here, because this is really what we went in here for. This whole job is because of these tubes, the tubes that were cracked right here. So we're going to clean our surface in here. We're going to get our tubes, oil, O-rings, grease put in, and we'll get these tightened up, and we're going to clean our gaskets here. And at that point, we're actually ready to feed this supercharger back into place. I'm very excited about that. All right, so we're dropping our coolant tube down, and we put some dielectric grease on both of them. And I've got a little rubber mallet here that we're going to put some pressure on and just try and tap this thing down. We got the two T30 bolts here. While I'm going blind. Okay, it's tight. Okay, it's bolt tight. It's nice and secure. All right, so we're gonna. We've got some stuff. So we've got our water outlet that we could play around with putting on, but the supercharger is really not in our way once that's back in place.
Yeah.
To put this on, it's really not in our face, so we can continue on you know, getting the supercharger in the back, or we could get the water outlet, you know, back on the front of this thing here. So we've got a couple of options, and we will let you know which one we're going with.
So much to do. The possibilities are endless.
So we're gonna clean our gasket surface here. It's very clean for
it's
these.
pretty clean.
So you know, this is the way that these came off, like this, and then our intake, our throttle valve here was sitting down into the. We just had it hanging down here, and that's kind of why we're not going to put the water outlet on first. We did get a new gasket for this, but this is some type of clamp here, and we don't want to mess with it. So for us not having the water outlet on, we can hang this down in place. And we've got to clean our two surfaces here. Get these gaskets off. This one went like that. And these
So,
are basically just wiping these down.
The kit came with 2 new gaskets, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got 2 new gaskets for it. I'm just gonna sit it down in place for a second here. Get it on the oil cooler. We've got our little block sitting in here.
Prop it up.
And I gotta get in the back
You gotta-
and get at all these brackets and get that to mount.
Yep. Get out of your way.
Like this fella. So I've got this, I'm gonna catch this bolt in here first, this one, and then we'll catch the second one and the third one. And this was tight. You
Yeah, it
know,
was
getting
pretty
this
tight.
off. But we've learned a lot from it, and we'll go in that direction. So, okay, we get the bolts.
So you got a little bracket here that goes in back of the supercharger. We're getting ready to put that on now. Just kind of test fitting it.
Putting this bracket in is very difficult. It goes close to the head of the bolts on the back of the turbocharger. Then the other bracket goes on top of it. Just catching a bolt, and we're gonna go catch the other one now. Gotta get this one plus the other bracket in place. And try not to drop the damn bolt. I think I just caught it. So I did.
Nice.
This is tightened down, and yeah, we got it.
We're gonna finish zipping this together.
So we've got an electrical connector that's going to go in the back here where my finger is, and then
Yep.
we've got this quick disconnect that's going to go here. We've got the bracket back on. This bracket goes back on because it bolts through the harness here, the bracket to hold the harness, and that's what we kind of forgot about. It's a 2-piece, so when you're going to take this apart, you've got a bracket that goes right up against the supercharger nut here, and then this other bracket with all this duplicator valve stuff goes in front of it. And then this is what bends up for the plate. The plate will slide right underneath this for the very top plate, and that's not a big deal. So we've got this all bolted back on now, and we're going to sit this thing down in place close, and then we're going to slip our gaskets for the bottom of the supercharger back in place.
And that little wire that gets connected underneath the supercharger, we can...
Yeah, it gets plugged in right here next to the connector. I don't know if you can see it over here.
Okay, let's see. We'll go around the other side. Okay, yeah, it's underneath there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So,
Okay.
all right. So let's.
So what we're doing right now is we're connecting a couple of tie wraps we put under there because those little 2 plastic clips that hold that tubing broke.
We've seen other guys just let it float in here, but we just figured, you know, if we can get the thing to tie wrap up in place a little bit.
Yeah, well, we'll secure them back up.
We'll try it, you know. Put a little grease on our gasket. We're going to slide it down and stick it down here in place. Make sure it's lined up right. Okay, got the holes lined up. Okay, we're gonna go do the same to the other one. We sandpapered our dowels, and we put some dielectric grease on them, and we're gonna slip the other side in place now. Okay, that's all I need to go. Yep. Okay.
Move your hand, I can see the hole over
Okay. All right.
Right.
Put a little grease on them to get them to stick down into place. And we are ready to set this supercharger back down in place now. So we're gonna pull the block out, we're each gonna grab an end, and we're gonna guide this down. We put a couple of tie wraps up here. It doesn't look very neat, but I wanted the hose held up, you know, for the, this goes like this.
Throttle body.
For the throttle body, I did want it held up. And the factory clips broke, so we just threw a couple tie wraps on them. I've seen guys just let them hang in the valley. We kind of want to just get the tie wraps a little loose and hold it up. All right, so we're going to pull the block out now, and we're going to get this set down in place.
Good.
Get the dowel to fall in.
Take your sides in.
This side did not fall in yet.
Does it need a little tap maybe?
No, I didn't find my hole. So, is yours still in, or did I just lift it out?
I think it's in.
Well, on this side, we've got an electrical connector that we can reach down and plug in. We had to do it with the plenum kind of getting, I mean, the supercharger getting pulled out, but I just got it to click.
I just heard it click, yeah.
All right, and then this connection plugs onto this line back here, but I'm not gonna plug this thing quite in yet. I've got some connections here to do. I've got some other stuff in here that I've got to fix, and I want to get this in last. This is all quick. That'll go in like that. That'll plug into this connector right here. We'll plug this on. I just want to get this all together before I start plugging this thing in, because this is easy. So we've got it to sit down in place, and we're gonna take some bolts and we'll just snug the bolts up a little tonight. We're running the bolts down, make sure we got our gasket all lined up. We can see the gasket. So I got 3 on this side. Then we have these big long ones that go down. When we put the cover on, there was some long ones that went down, and those actually torque the front of the supercharger. So I got 3 on this side in, I'm gonna get 3 over there in.
She's going back together. Yippee-ki-yay.
We left some of the easy stuff in the back here, like this tube to bolt on. That's gonna be easy, we can bolt that on. We can get in there and reach it. So we're gonna do that stuff last. Just wanna make sure all bolts start so we know our gaskets are lined up. I'm just gonna run these down real quickly. Just making sure they're all starting easy, then I'll snug them up with the gun. And we're gonna torque them. All right, so we're getting our corner in the back over here together. And so we've got this electrical connector that's gonna plug into this bracket right here. And just gonna get this in place, plug that in. And then we've got this 2 bolts here for the tube for the back of the breather. And we got these bolts here, we're gonna get these 2 T30s in. We're gonna get these started. Hoping we don't drop anything.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that would be bad.
So we're gonna catch both of these bolts by hand.
Tighten these 2 T30s up, and then we'll come right back to you.
Okay. So we've got this hose all buttoned up over here. We connected that to the back of the
With the 2 T30s, we got the electrical connector plugged back in. We snap this down in place. The connector over here that holds the hose. You know, of course, it's brittle, it broke, so we ain't worrying about that. We've got another one over here that's got to lock into here, to this, but you know, we don't have to put this on quite right yet. And then I've got this connector back here, and this is a quick disconnect. And if you look down underneath here with the mirror, you can see the stud right there that we got to go to, the tube.
Yep.
And we're going to hook that on right now, and that's just a quick disconnect. That was a dink to get off, you know, but putting it back on, we should just hear a click. There it is.
There you go. Yep.
All right, we can click this back into this one. This is just like the clip that just broke on us, so let's see if this one breaks. No, we got that one in. All right, so this is the plenum, the cover is going to go underneath this, so this is bent up a little bit, these two right here. And then we'll get this tube put back on and get this down in place and bolt this back down. That looks like that goes like that. And I think we may have to put that on after we get the plenum on, because the way the flange is, the bolt, it's got a bolt right here, and this just bolts down. The problem is, you know, the plenum's got to go underneath this thing, and so I think we're going to put this on last. We'll see if we have enough room to get our hand in here to catch these last two bolts, which we should. For the wiring harness is going to pull up like this. We'll have one bolt we have to put in here for this tube, and so we're going to just keep working it. Well, we got a new gasket for that, so we're just sitting the throttle body back in place. And, you know, we did tie wrap it back up to the bottom of the supercharger, and we just have to squeak the hose by here. We got a new gasket that we're going to put on, but I'm looking to just set this in place for right now, because we're going to go after the water valve, and we got a new gasket we're going to put on this. So I'm just sitting this now. The kit came with the new piece right here. This has got a plug off here. There's just a flat dead spot here on this, so nothing goes to it for coolant. But these have those factory crimped hoses, and we don't want to change them. There's nothing wrong with this hose. They did give us a new plastic one in the kit like this, but there's nothing wrong with this one, and it's accessible. So say down the road something like this leaked, it is accessible without taking the whole damn thing apart. So I'm comfortable leaving this, so we're going to leave this, and we're going to get the water outlet put back in place right now and connect this on. And on the water outlet, it did come with the new hose. You know, the car's got 50,000 miles. It's in good shape. We can use the new one if we want, so we'll decide what we're going to do with that. But we had the new brass piece put into the water pump here, and it's nice and tight now. So we're going to put the retaining clip back into the thing here for the quick disconnect, and we're going to slide the water outlet down in place and start putting this thing back together. So we've got the clip here that goes on. I believe it went on like this. Get this in place. Okay, see how it clips inside here, right here, and here? So now you've got your seal down in here, right? And we're just gonna put a little dielectric grease and make sure that there's no burrs or anything. And then our new outlet is just gonna quick disconnect onto it. And then we've got this hose clamp that will slide up. So let's go get a little dielectric grease on this O-ring that's in right here. Okay, just got a little bit of dielectric grease. I'm going right on the O-ring. And when this thing slides in place and locks, you'll hear the click. So we know we have it in the right place. And you know, I can take a little bit of dielectric and just put it in this hose, just so it's just got a little slide to it, because we're going to push both of these on at the same time. So we previously, the kit came with this outlet which already had a new hose on it, and then we've got this one. So we're going to take this plastic piece out. We'll release this clamp right now, and we'll get this plastic piece out, and we'll just use this new hose along with this one. We could use this one, but we got to take a clamp on anyway, so we might as well leave the new hose on. So we're going to take this off, pull the plastic piece out, and we'll take this hose off right now, because we're not going to use this one. This hose right here is going to go to this. So we're gonna squeeze this clamp and remove this plastic piece. Okay, get the plastic piece out, so we don't need this anymore, and we don't need this little rubber hose. So we're gonna get rid of this, and we're gonna slide this back into place. Okay, so we've got our water outlet here. We put this all back together. We had to transfer our hoses over, so we did. With this hose, we had to transfer over. This hose came in the kit. We put this on, and it's got these little clips here that you can slide these off after, and then the hose clamp will be tight. So we're gonna get this together, get everything adjusted in case we have to twist anything, and then we'll slide these clips off at the end after everything's adjusted the way we want it. So we've got a little electrical connector here that plugs into this. We're gonna leave that off for now. We're gonna line up our outlet. Now on the outlet, we found that the last time that there was like a shark fin that went in here. See the grooves right here and here? So you have to line these up with this right here and right here. And that's what made it such a hard time to come out. Trying to push it down. All right, we just heard the click. Got that on. We're gonna slide this other hose on. We had a little grease on it, boy, it went right on nice and easy. So we're gonna get this clip right here slid back up onto the top, and we've got that bottomed, okay? And we used our spring tool to remove that. So let's go grab that and slide that back up in place, and we'll have the bottom of this done. And we've got our electrical connector, which is kind of easy to plug in right now. So we're gonna choose to do that right now. That's a 2-pin. Yeah, everything's easy. I think the connector would want to be out, but the shark fin's on the back, so that's where the shark fin should be. So this thing has 2 little guides, but this doesn't. Is there something different about this? All right, let's take a look at this old one here. So this connector plugs into this one right here. This one goes into here, but I'm gonna get this bolted on first, and then this one plugs down into here, and that one will clip into that. So let's get this connector, this clamp up in place first.
So that's the one right there that plugs into the holes, the connector right there. Can't really mix them up, they only connect in one spot.
Okay, we got our clamp tool here. Looking at the position, that looks really good. Happy with that. All right, so we took a bolt out here and we left it in place so that we wouldn't forget where it goes, and that goes on to bolting this thing on. So we're probably going to connect this electrical connector first because it looks like it might be in our way, but we're going to dry fit it, make sure that I can get my hand in there. I think it's a little easier to do it before. I'm going to plug this connector in. We're deciding to go with the connectors first. Okay, you heard the click. And then there was a bracket on the old one. Let's see where this finds itself after. I know I've got one right here for this one. And then this connector I'm going to plug in right now into here. Okay, push the lock clip back in. Okay, I'm going to take this bolt out now, and let's get this up into place. It's got to lift it up just a whisker to get it in there. Let's see if I can get my hand in here, get this bolt hand caught. Yep. I believe this is the one I used a real long extension on. Just trying to get as much of it tight with my fingers as I can. But we're going to go with the long extension now in the T30 to tighten that one down. All right, I'm going to snug this up. Okay, that's tight. Okay, we get that out, fish this out. Now, let's try and get some of these clips to go back in here. We've got a clip right here. It looks like these two went into this setup like this. Push down into place. And then this one, man, everything's got a little spot, huh? It's got a little hole right here for it. Line up the hole here. There it is. Okay, that's in. And that's all in tight. And then there should be a little hole right here, but it doesn't look like it's drilled out for the clip right here. And there would have been something here on the original one, but this one doesn't have, but that's okay. We've got plenty to hold this thing in place. And then we've got over here, we never took this connector off, so that's all plugged in. Our harness is all good over here. This is for our Hope coolant, last coolant tubes that are going in here. So there's just no bracket for this one for some reason, but that's all right. There was something on the original housing, but that's okay. We got plenty holding it on. So, all right, so we got the bottom together. We've got to get this hose on, and we've got our clamp that slid down here. Let's get this on. Now this goes right onto the water pump here. And I think before we do that, we're gonna just get the new gasket on for the throttle body so I don't have to mess around here at all. So, because it'll be easier to get it off now. So we got the new gasket for the throttle body. We're gonna get that on, and they got a little clips that pops out here from. Hold it in place. Okay, let's get the new one on there. So make sure our surface is nice and clean, and it is usable, but you know, we got a new one, and it's got two tits to line up here. So let's get these lined up. So it goes like that. We've got this one going into this hole and this one going into this hole here. Let's just push these in. So we've got that lined up, and we're going to sit this down into place, and we're going to get the bolts and catch these right now. Got the throttle body bolts, T30s as usual. Get these lined up.
And you ready?
All right, so we've got our inch pound. I mean, we got it's Newton ran in Newton meters, I guess. So, we didn't finish tightening this down.
And all right.
Okay, so the spec said this was like 10 Newton meters. So we set our gun up. I mean, our ratchet up at 10 Newton meters. Okay, got that clicked. Come over here, cross. And this is inch pound torque wrench. I think this is about 80 inch pounds in inch pounds, but we're going with the Newton meter reading, which was 10. Okay, so we're going to double check all of these. Okay, last one. We went in a crisscross pattern. All right, so we're good with that. Let's get this. We're going to get this upper radiator hose, the water pump outlet hose back on in place. And you know, you can see how we may have to twist this lower hose to get this to slide over there. That's more than likely what we're going to do. And let's get that set up. We'll use our hose clamp, get it back on there. Squeeze that down. Okay. Looks like we gotta twist this way a little bit to.
Yeah, it's gonna have to go on the water pump.
Yeah. So the bolt down here for the water outlet, we tightened it up, but we're gonna leave it loose, well snug, until we get the water outlet in place, because it seems like the hose is fighting us a little bit.
So loosen this, connect that
Yeah.
hose to the water pump, then we'll tighten this back down.
Yeah.
right now. Yep. Go
All
ahead.
right, so we rotated the outlet because it's got some swing, and that pulled it right in for us. We've got our hose in the right position. We're going to get these clamps back down in place. Okay, we got this one right here. I have to get these right back in the exact same position if I can. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Damn it. Okay. Let's check this. Yeah, that looks, gonna look with the mirror. Make sure my clamp was positioned good down here. That looks really good. So that looks like it's in the same spot, pretty much. So, all right, so we're gonna get this top one on now. Okay, this one, the hose is, the clip is locked in position, and I gotta get that off.
Get it?
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so now we're gonna squeeze it and adjust the clamp right now.
A little tap is a pain.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get this back in the same position that it was in. And we're gonna use the clamp tool to do it. Okay, squeeze this down a little bit. Okay, that's right where it was. Okay, we get that one back in place. Now we've got this hose here that we can slip on to our metal brass fitting that they gave us. Slides down nice. And we'll get this clip rotated around to the right position. Now, let's get this off. Okay. Okay, put that on there. Okay, we're gonna tighten our water outlet now because we've got everything connected back in place here. So we've got our T30 down here. And you know, we should have tightened this up last. Okay. Okay, so we've got the back all set over there. We get the water outlet in place. I think our next phase is going to be to get the top of the plenum back on in place. We've left all our rags in here so we wouldn't drop anything into the engine. We can remove these gently. Make sure we don't see any debris in there. We're going to torque our bolts here. Now they're giving you the 6 bolts here, and the 2 that go through the front right here, these go down into the front of the intake gasket down there. And you can see this one a little better over here. It drops straight down there, but you can't torque, you got to torque these 6 first, because those you have to torque when the plenum's on, then you can't get at the other one. So we're going to torque these up right now. All right, so they call this the intake manifold. It's a supercharger, housing, whatever you want to call it. So, so we've got 3 bolts on each side. And then we've got one down in the front here and one down over here, which we can't access until we put the cover back on, the plenum cover back on. So we're gonna torque, and everything is 25 Newton meters. So we're gonna torque these 6 bolts right now, and they're 10 millimeters, and we'll go in we'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pattern to get them all snug down. And then when we get the cover back on, we'll tighten everything down with a pattern that we'll show you, and it's still 25 Newton meters. And these 2 bolts here will go down, which tighten the last 2 for the intake manifold / supercharger. And those are B10s as well. So, all right, so let's get this going. Let's get them all snug so that we're close to our torque. And we'll do our final torque on them. And these are 25 Newton meters, it says. And we sat this on already and just snugged them a little bit to let it sit. All right, so now we're gonna go with our 25. There's one. We're gonna go with this one here. You want a crisscross pattern. Okay, let's double check them. Okay. Okay. We'll leave the torque wrench set up because we got to torque the top of the intake down. Boy, we're starting to get this thing back together.
It's getting there.
All right, so I think our next step is going to be getting the top of the plenum intake cover back on, and then we'll get all those torqued. And we kept everything clean with rags. You can see our supercharger impellers turning. There's nothing binding. It's probably a good idea to give this a spin before you, God forbid, you drop something in this motor. So we have an opportunity to check the bearing here. The bearing's nice and tight. It's very smooth. That's what we want. And we're gonna go get our plenum back down in place. So this is the pattern for the cover, and it's got, it looks like 50, man, it says 19. Let's just get this picture on it. Yeah, so there looks like there's 19 bolts on it. So we're gonna go with this pattern here, and basically it starts, 1, 2, 3, 4, crisscross, 5, 6, 7. So we're gonna go by this pattern. We may bring this over to the car just so we can take a good look at it. We're gonna get the cover on. We're just gonna snug the bolts down, and then we're gonna torque it. We left some of the bolts on here so that we would kind of remember where our stuff went, because there's so many. And we're gonna there's coolant in this supercharger, in this cover. So we're just gonna plug our bolts up. I wanna stand this up, and I wanna inspect the gaskets. So it's got this thin gasket here, and I wanna just wipe it down to make sure it's good, follow it. Everything seems good with it. So, and these are 2 coolers right here. That's what cools this thing down, which is kind of neat, the way they have it set up. And it's got a funky gasket here, and this is all the gaskets. So everything is wiped down, smooth. We're gonna go wipe the engine down and make sure that's all clean, and then we'll get this thing set in place. We're just bending our tabs up a little bit right here, and we're gonna set the thing in place, and we're hoping that with it in place I can still get at these bolts in here, because I think the hose is gonna be in the way, but we're gonna find out real soon if that's the case. Once we get the plenum in, that we can get on this and bolt this down, and we've got these 2 other bolts here for the wire harness. So I've got the electrical set up over here. We got our connector back here. It's like a breather with the 2 T30s. We got our sensors plugged back in. We've got our connector right here clipped on. We plugged that back in there. So we got some tight area back here. So we're gonna sit the intake, because I'm not sure I can get in here after. I believe I can. And I think it's gonna be easier to do it this way. So we just lifted up on this, bent this up a little bit so we can get the thing to slide underneath. So we're holding it, we've got our gasket in place. I'm gonna slide this thing down. Okay, it looks like I got room back there. I'm very happy for that. All right, so we're gonna go get all these bolts back in place. Our gasket stayed stuck to the top of the plenum, if you will. And we had left a couple of bolts in here so we can remember for these brackets here. And we're gonna go get all these bolts put in place. Our 2 long ones, we're gonna wire wheel, put a tiny bit of never seize on the threads because those go into the block, and the bolts, the block's aluminum and that is metal, steel. All right, so let's get them cleaned up and these all in place. We're gonna get these lined up and caught. And we've also did the two long ones going down there. I wanna get those caught first. These are T30s, but they go here and here. And these actually tighten the front of the supercharger down. So they thread into the bolts down there. So I wanna start those by hand, and we'll get these all started by hand. These are the meat and potatoes of the job right here. So that one started, that one started, that one started. And when we took the 2 long ones out, the T30s in the front, they came out kind of hard. So we were kind of leery about those. So, you know, I want to make sure that these start correctly, and then we never seize them for a reason. And okay, so those are freeing up. That's good. Get this one. We're going to snug these down with the electric ratchet, and then we're going to get these all snug, and then we're going to get all the rest of these bolts put in. We're going to use a little dab of never seize on the tips of them, and then we're going to torque them all to 25 Newton meters, and we'll come back here.
The garage entertainment just arrived. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, I'm here for the pizza.
We're working on this Jaguar.
Jaguar.
There you go.
Okay, so we've got our chart here, and we're going to do our torque pattern for the 410s first. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the rest of them are 30 millimeter, T30 torque spits. And this is all at 25 Newton meters. So let's start doing these first 10s. We snugged them all up already. There's one. 2. 3. 4. And then they're showing 5, which is the five is this left front corner one here, and then the 21 is the super long one, it looks like, but they want us to do 5 and then 6, 7, 8. So we're going to do 5.
Which one is it?
5.
The one that's cool with me. Yeah, he's the one that's like, it's the husky that's a little tender, right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Looks like my Torx is getting a little stuck on these things. Make sure I get the T30, yeah? We're on 7 right now. Okay. Now we've got 8 right here, which is the front one here. This is loose. Something's going on here. Hold on.
Yep.
All right, so these are T40s. My mistake. Okay, so these are T40s. I thought they were 30s. They're 40s. So we're at 5 and 8 right now. We torqued the 8. I'm just going to double check these. All right, so we're at 8. All right, and we already previously torqued this one. Okay, so we did 8. Now we're going for 9, which is 9 is the corner in the back here, this one. I'm gonna need a little extension for some of these. So we're doing number 9 right now. And then 10 is over here. And then 11 is over here. So we're going down this whole side of the rail. And these are T40s. And here for 13. And then they're going to jump over to this one for 14. And then this one is 15. This one is 16, and you're going down this whole rail, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Coming back around to 20.
This one's 20. And then they're going to 21, which is, this is the one that goes down into the front of the block, the real long bolt. We put a little never-sees on all of these. Okay, and then we're going to do this one, which is 22, right here.
A lot of bolts.
And this looks like the last one they're having us do. So we're going to go and just double check all of our torque specs. I mean our bolts, and we'll come back to you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we've got our tube here and our hose. Let's slide this into here. I think we can. That's where we're gonna get this down into place first, and then we'll feed this in. I think I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant on this hose to help get this thing to slide in here.
So help this pipe to slide in a
This
little
pipe's
easy.
going to slide in. And this was all plastic before. Now it's all metal.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
So the factory should have built it.
pretty much.
Kind of kidding.
I don't know if the spring clamp is sticking me a little bit here because it's clamped so that it's supposed to be loose, but it seems kind of tight. I'm going to take it off and slide it down with the tool here. Actually, we can grab this one with pliers. I'm going to slide this down. Yeah, it's not coming down into place here.
I think you need to get that clamp beyond the
Yeah, I think the clamp is
screw. It's fighting you.
yeah, it's not quite going over the lip on the bottom of the hose yet.
Nah, it's cocked over here.
Yeah. We got a couple of T30s here we're gonna catch.
Those the T30s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're tight to get them started. And once we get these tight, then we're gonna just try and adjust this. I think the hose is perfect, but I'm just gonna, once this is pulled down tight, I'm gonna just loosen this clamp and settle this in a little more, but I think I'm good.
We gotta get those two bolts tightened up and that hose repositioned a little bit better, and we'll be back in a second.
So there is a hole down here for this clip, and we were wondering if they forgot to put it in, but they did. It's just buried down here. We just gotta get this to push in. There it is.
Yeah, it's underneath.
Yeah, it's underneath. So everything's nice and neat and tight. You know, the wiring. So, okay, so we've got our T30 down here tight for our water outlet. So that's all set. We've got the new coolant tube. This was the problem. This is why we went in here, because this tube bolts to the tube down underneath, which is that Y connector, and that's the flange that broke off. And Tony showed you in the video, and it was just puking coolant down there. It's kind of a really poor design. This should have been from the get-go what they should have done.
This car's only going 50,000 miles on it.
Yeah, you know, so yeah, so we've got our two T30s, one here and one here, and they were kind of a little bit longer because we were wondering if it was, these were the longer ones for here, and they are, and the shorter ones are the ones that went down for the wide tube that was down in the bottom. So I don't know, at the end of the day here, we've only got one bolt left, and it looks like it's going to this. So I don't know, we don't have any spare parts, Tony. I don't know what's going on here.
That's a good thing.
All right, so we're gonna do some quick disconnects here. We'll come back to you in a minute. We'll set up the rest of this. We've got a couple of, we're gonna bolt this bracket, you know, back on over here. And we got a bolt here for this back bracket. This bolt goes to this front one right here. So we're gonna get these done and on. And we had some stuff that was tie wrapped out of the way. We're gonna release that and start pulling this over. We've got the coolant tube in the back here. And now that we've got this off, we can get this tube, and it sits down like this. You can see the bolt right here and the bolt right here. We've also got these two bolts that go right here. There's one here and there's one here. We're gonna get probably those in place first. And there looks like there's another bolt that goes here for something, and we'll find out what that is. But you know, that looks, I think we got everything, so there might not have been anything there, we'll see. But we got one here we got to put in. We've got one here for this flange. I believe there's only one bolt for this flange. Yeah, there is only one. And let's see, which way does that go? That goes, oh, you know what it does? It goes backward like this onto that bolt. So there is no bolt right here. That was an empty hole. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And we're gonna leave this hose off until we catch these last two in the back, and then we'll put one here. So there was not a bolt over here on that side. So, okay, let's get this done. We got this, so we got the two bolts, T30s, holding the wire harness back onto the bracket. This is an 8mm bolt that held this tube down onto this, and the flange is tight. It's just the hose moves underneath. And that's got to be air. It's not coolant, I don't believe. But you never know what it is. So it's, we'll find out when we fill it up if it fucking leaks. But I don't think it's coolant. It's going into the box over here, and there's only one of them, so I think it's air. And so now we've got this bracket to go on here. Don't drop the bolt, Steve. Okay. One here, and these are 8mm as well. Got another short one to put over here. And we're running out of bolts.
That's a good thing.
Tight to get your hand in here. Very tight. Yeah, if I don't drop this one, it's a freaking miracle. Let's try and get it through a hole in the bracket. Okay. All right, I think we got it started.
Sit that one down.
This is the bracket for the top of the engine plastic cover that hides this whole mess. Hooks into.
Wire a nightmare.
Alright. Okay, I believe we got the back of this thing finally all back together. And that's a good thing. So, alright, and we've got this thing I thought clipped on it. Oh, it clips onto this after we get this back in together here.
Yep.
This clips over to here. These things have been a bitch. You gotta be really careful with pushing these things on.
Yeah, everything's wicked brittle.
They've been very
It's
brittle.
all plastic.
And So it's just been kind of slow to, okay, so we get that on, We also got to get our fuel line back on over here in the front. We've got that right here. And you know, when you're taking this thing off, the system was pressurized. Take the fuel cap off and we cracked these loose. And we threw a rag over and we just let them depressurize. And it took a little bit. So we're going to put these back on right now. And we put our clips back in place because we, you know, we wanted to make sure. So I've got that back in there. And these were 17s, I believe. We'll double check. I'm just getting that one caught. We're gonna catch this one over here. And we just rolled our clamps back so we can put our bolts back in to make sure we had the right ones there. All right, so we've got this snug. And we're gonna tighten these lines up and then we'll get these bolts on right now for our caps so that everything is in place, and then we'll tighten the caps down. A lot of T30s here, so if you're taking this stuff off, you know, you notice we put them back in place where they went, just so you don't get mixed up with them.
Yeah, it's a lot of screws and bolts. A lot of screws.
Yeah.
A lot of wiring connectors too.
Yeah. Oh, that just broke.
You kidding me?
Oh no, it just popped out of the
It
socket.
just popped
You
out.
might be lucky.
Yeah, Jesus.
You will be putting some tie wraps on some of this
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
So.
just friggin'.
All right, so we're gonna snug these down and then we're gonna tighten our caps up. Okay, so we've got this, we're gonna snug that fuel line down. And we've got this one here. You're not killing this thing, you're just snugging it up. Okay. And we've got our 4 T30s that we tightened, those are tight. This thing can, this cover can get put back on. It plugs onto over the fuel line here, you can see it.
Yeah, it's a little nipple too. You gotta bring
Yeah,
that up.
it's gotta, does it go underneath it?
It's a little nipple.
Yeah, I can see
You
that.
black?
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, that plugs into there. And this is what just popped out of the connector here, which is this little
Looks
plastic
like it
thing.
just kind of. There's a little.
So this goes into here.
There's a little tit on there that goes in the hole.
Yeah,
So put your tit in the hole.
there you go. Can't believe it didn't break. Everything else it touched like this thing is. Okay.
As long as your tit stays attached, you're good, Steve.
Yep, you're good. All right. Okay. And then we got a quick disconnect on this thing here. This has got to come over a little bit more.
There you go.
That's on there. Quick disconnect. That's back in place. Man, that's tight to the cover here, huh?
Yeah. That's how it was, though.
Yeah.
Everything's tight fitting.
There's no other. Put the light down there. There's no other. We're gonna plug all this stuff back in, and we've got this connector right here for the actuator for the throttle body. Plug in. And it's got the locking clip. Clips in. And we've got one for here. And of course it looks like this had to go underneath here.
And okay.
All right, we're trying to get this cover back on. And this hose here, the coolant tube goes up and it clips into the top over here and it runs under the fuel hose and underneath this hose here. And then it's got a clip that it slides into and locks. It's got another clip right here that it locks in place. That keeps all the harness and everything tight through the valve cover. There's a little rubber plastic male tip right here that goes into the cover right here. So we're going to try and slide this down into place first, and then we'll catch this bracket last. We got 2 bolts to go for this bracket here, and so let's try and get this in now.
It's pretty flexible, so you should be able to worm it in there.
Yeah, it's
kinda
tight,
rubbery.
man.
Is it?
Everything's tight on this thing, I'll tell you. Trying to get that tip to line up down there.
I thought I heard it snap in.
I don't
Poke
know.
in.
It did.
It did?
Snap in. Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
You think so?
I think it just popped in.
Hey.
We got the cover together. This rubber cover here is kind of a pain in the ass. There's a pin that it goes into over here. You got to get the tubes underneath plugged into place, and we've got it finally all on. And we've got these 2 bolts that we're tightening down now, T30s of course. And we're going to tighten this down. We've got the cover back on. We loosened these 2 up out of the holders so that we could get the cover in here and in place. And it kind of has like a lock and sleeve that it lines down into. We just wanted to make sure that we got it back on, you know. So, and it covers this hose here that runs up right here. So we're going to tighten these 2 T30s here, and we've got everything in the back together. Well, this whole cover will be back on. We've got the fuel lines tight. We got the line over there. After we get this together, we can take the oil cap off, and we can pull the line up to make sure that we don't have a fuel leak here and there. And we'll do that. And let me tighten these 2 T30s right now.
Good.
All right, so we got the supercharger belt we're putting on as we're getting toward the end of this, which is great news.
Grab the light, Skylar. Thanks, buddy.
And then we go around to this pulley here, and I think we went like tucked underneath this pulley, if I remember correctly. It's gonna go like this. Nope. I thought it had to go around this, but I don't think it does. Now it's stuck. Yeah, sucker, huh? And this went around like this. Around the crankshaft, around this pulley here, and then we're gonna go around, we went on the tensioner there, around our idler, and we gotta pull this up over the top, but I wanna make sure, hold on, everybody's moving the lights on me, I can't
Sorry.
see shit.
Sorry.
Okay, let me see back down here.
Sure.
I'm not on over there. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna get the 1/2-inch drive ratchet, and we're gonna adjust this.
Yep.
And this is how the routing goes.
Either under, no, it's gotta go over this. Okay, all right, we can let it go.
Hey.
Okay, so we've got the supercharger belt back on. It's around the tensioner. It's a double-sided belt on both sides. You can see down here, Tony puts the light down here. We've got the crankshaft on here, the idler, another idler, and we've got it around the tensioner. So we're good there. So we got the supercharger belt on. We're gonna try and get these plastic hoses that go around the front over here, and they plug into this thing. Kind of funky. Let's get those on now. All right, we're gonna get this upper radiator hose back on first. Okay,
There you go.
all right, get that on. This is locked into that. All right, so we get this plastic hose. These were kind of a dink to take off, to be honest with you. So we'll weight these down. And they've all got seals inside them. And I think we're gonna just put a little dielectric grease on the inside. Coolant, probably gonna be okay though. So, all right, let's get these to drop back down in place. up and connect this one. Oh yeah, look at that. I think this went underneath the hose.
Oh, really?
Oh, Jesus. Man, everything's a bitch. Yeah, this went underneath the hose.
Pain in the nuts.
Yeah, it is a fucking pain in the nuts. All right, so we're gonna take this clamp off again, guys. Let's get this bottom down here.
Yep.
We're gonna
Bottom cut.
we're gonna push this in and get the click on that. Let's get this other one in. You can find the hose hiding down here somewhere. There's another hose somewhere hiding.
It's not clipped out of the way on the right somewhere, is
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, this one goes down here. Clip that. Okay. And we've got the clips right here for this one that we have to start to get tight in here again. This goes in here. We've got to get these clips to lock in here like this. Okay. Get that other clip in there, there. And we can clip these on. Them on, that on. We've got this electrical connector. We're gonna plug in here. We got this one to plug in. We got this one to plug in. And then this has to go underneath. This has a clip that goes in there. So then this, running out of stuff, guys. Thank God.
It's good. Go the right way.
Okay, this is, plug this in here. Slide the lock clip up. Sit that in there. Okay. All right, let's try and put this hose on again. Should just slide right on now, huh?
Yeah, huh?
All right, that's tight. Okay,
There you go.
this clamp up here. Looks like that's where it was right there. There it is.
it? There you are.
Okay.
All right. That's good.
Let's go. We get that back in there. We get the supercharger belt on. We got our coolant hoses all clipped back in. My lord, we're in deep.
Yeah, no kidding. There's a
We got our
lot of
brackets
stuff on
back
this.
We've got all our stuff plugged back into the back of the head here. We've got our clips plugged back in. We've got our bracket bolted on for the air cleaner. We've got our tube bolted back in over here. Our wire harness is plugged back in. Okay, we get this all plugged in here. Okay, that looks good. This side looks good. Yeah, this is tight. This tucks underneath the back here. It's kind of funky how it goes underneath there, but we get that all back in. All right, let's get our front tube back on in place. And we've got this little plugger right here. This went onto the front of the, it's got something that connects to the radiator here still.
Yeah.
We gotta find, now let me move this out of the way. We got a quick disconnect here with an O-ring that we're gonna slide in. Okay, that clips in there. We bought a new one for this thing because we had a coolant leak here. We got this here, then this goes in here, that goes in here. And my God, I think we're done with coolant lines.
Oh, mate, I know. A lot of coolant hoses.
Jeez, and crackers,
What
there's a
a-
lot of coolant lines. So now we're gonna put the snorkel back on, and I'm just wondering, do I even put its snorkel back on until I fill it with coolant? Probably not gonna. Let's.
So now we're gonna top off the coolant and get the system filled back up.
So we're trying to get the snorkel back in place, and it's just another thing fighting us. And we put some dielectric grease on it to try and get it to slide onto this throttle body. We got this. We'll get them lined up. This bolt stripped out, which ain't a big deal. We don't really care. We're gonna just push it back in place. But the snorkel is lined up. But the bottom just doesn't want to go on.
Bottom's caught over here. Well. All right, so we just got the middle of the intake on. We had to heat up the end a little bit to slip it into the.
So the round part over here, we just could not get it on, and we put the electric grease in it. It would not come on. We took a little lighter and we just heated it up a little bit, and we put, forced it. It went on.
And he's talking about the end over here, not this
Yeah, on
end.
this end over here. So, and we're hoping that this just falls in place there.
There you go.
And there's one side. Okay, there's that side. Oh, we're gonna get 7mm. Start tightening this stuff up. This thing goes on here.
Yeah, just connecting everywhere.
Yeah, we're gonna force that on too.
And we're gonna get the other end on here, and we'll be back in a second.
That's good. So we're just tightening our 7mm up here. We tried to put this thing on just with this all together.
As a whole assembly.
And my God,
It wasn't
just
having
did
it.
not want to cooperate. You get the last plug right here to push into here.
Just lay at the end of the tunnel. Holy shnikes.
This was a quick disconnect that we put on here. We got that to clip in. So, and there was a cap here for the top of the coolant tube that they gave us with the kip. We put that on. So at this point, we're gonna fire this thing up, get some coolant circulated because we filled the surge tank, and we'll look for some obvious leaks, and then we'll pressure test it.
It's alive! This thing is probably gonna drink, so we're gonna keep topping it off for a little bit here, let it run. Right, Mr. Steve?
Yeah, I knew. Yeah. Can I get a sip of this stuff?
Get out of there. All right, go ahead.
So we pressure tested it. We're holding at 14 pounds. I didn't really want to get too much higher. And I got no leaks. And there's got to be 30 coolant connections on this thing. It's crazy. So I just looked with the mirror down at my water outlet. I looked in the back of the cylinder heads where we put the metal tube in the back. I looked down in here. I looked over here, all down in this area, all our quick disconnects over here and here. This is our new line that had a leak. That's all set now. We've got everything back together. We started up. We've got no lights on, no check engine lights. We're going to slip the cover over the top of it and take the thing for a blast, and then we'll double check to make sure that there's no leaks.